Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first ever Bear Bytes Question Cave stream. Now, I'm Ed Pilon. I'm the programming, functional programming lead of Team 930, and we're hosting this stream to hopefully answer some questions of the community through our Discord and this YouTube stream chat. Now, if you have any questions during the stream, please leave them in our YouTube chat. That's what we'll be looking at the most. So, one of our questions that we got on our Discord was about Advantage Kit. And my lovely friend here, Lydia, will be able to answer a bunch of those questions. Lydia,
Yeah.
please take it away.
Yeah, so this year we're using Advantage Kit created by Team 6328. Advantage Kit is a logging tool that interfaces with Advantage Scope, which is the simulation tool. So basically how to use this is they have all the documentation on their web pages in order to hook it up to the simulator. But the reason why it's important this year is so that instead of logging output from the code, it records all the values that goes into the robot code. And this allows us to replay matches. So all of the sensors, the joystick actions, any of the network table updates, all of that is logged every single cycle. And after each match, you can replay it and you can replay it in the simulation, so that without using an actual robot, you can see exactly what happened during the match. It can be used as a tool for checking specific issues and like a safety net that can be used to verify different functions in the code. Um, the way to hook this up to the simulator is in Advantage Scope, connected to the simulation under Live Outputs. You can go to Advantage Kit, then Live Outputs, and under Live Outputs there should be something about Post 2Ds, and you can connect it to Robot or Drivetrain Odometry, and underneath in Post 2D you should be able to see all of the values at the bottom. This logging is super important this year because we can see all the odometry, all the buttons that were pressed. We can test code without even using a robot. So for example, we don't have a robot to test on quite yet for programming, but we were able to adjust PID values just through simulation. And it's a lot.
Uh, you don't just need to log odometry, and whenever you're testing any value that you want to see if it's working properly, you can just throw that into Advantage Kit logging and see the updated values as they come in real time.
Yeah, and another cool feature about Advantage Scope, which is the simulation part of it, is that you can import your CAD models of your robot into the simulation. And so how to do this is from Onshape, you can export your CAD model. The best way to do it is by converting that through a step file. Um, Instead of just going straight to GLTF, and you also need a JSON of it, and you want to name it the robot name, or the robot underscore the name. And then to convert from step to GLB, it's way, uh, it's extra steps, but it's much easier because the files are much larger and way harder to manage. So you can download CAD Assistant, which has step-by-step on how to convert the files to the one that you want. And then in Advantage Scope, then you can click on Help and Show FRC Data, and then you just copy both the JSON of your robot and the GLB of your robot. Um, and then in order to have it show up in the simulation, you just close it and reopen it. And then you should be able to see your robot in the simulation. And then something that we had happen was the robot was just high in the air, but in the JSON file under rotations, you should be able to see an X, Y, and Z axis, and you can just play with those numbers until the robot shows up exactly where you want it on the field.
Cool. I know we had a lot more questions in our Discord about photon vision as well. Now, this year, uh, First has included, instead of only using reflective tape, we're going to be using April tags as well. And this is a new feature this year that they're hoping to roll out. And there's a lot of new things with this. A lot of things that they're hoping to fix with reflective tape, a lot of new problems that come up. Now, my friend over here, Harrison, is going to help answer these questions that the community has some concerns with.
Yep. So one of the big questions that I saw is how you can use April tags to find out the position of your robot. Now, we haven't fully done this yet, so we still have a few more questions that we need to answer. and we can update on this later in the season as we get it done. But essentially, right, um, the encoders, they're belt fed, so belts slip, and when the belts slip, they start creating an error from your actual robot position in real life and what the encoder says you're at. We can use the April tags from the photon vision. We can look at the distance and the angle of the April tags, and we can decipher where our robot is from that. Essentially, we would use this every few seconds to correct the error that has come up from the encoder slipping. Um, of course, this isn't the only use of photon vision April tags. There's also what's it called? You can also find out where the goals are, the scoring platforms, and find the distance and the direction of those. This will allow you to, well, we plan to make the scoring fully autonomous, driving up to the scoring platform and placing the thing, the cone or the cube, onto the platform just by the press of a button. And we know that there were some other teams that had button boards set up for every scoring position, and they can just drive there and place it down. This would mostly use April tags to find out where you are. Um, there's also in future seasons, right? Not just 2023. As April tags are used in the future, this can be used as a replacement for reflective tape on things like hub for 2022, right? The reflective tape showed you where the hub was, but the April tag gives you a more dynamic uh, positioning of it.
Odometry.
Yeah.
More precise odometry.
Yeah, more precise odometry of the position. Um, we haven't had very good experiences with it so far this year. Um, we've learned that those ribbons attached to the cameras on the buys are very weak and can strain easily, and they'll break easily. So be careful with those. Um,
And yeah, that was one of the problems we had
yeah.
with testing our cameras. Um, so we had a lot of problems with our cameras, as he might have made it sound, and we were on kind of a wild goose chase with what was the problem with our cameras and what was going on, because it wasn't obvious to us that our ribbons broke. So just for everyone out there, making sure, just if your cameras aren't working right, check to see if all of your hardware and everything is working great. Because if the ribbons are broken, like for us, then they won't work, and you might be looking in the wrong areas, or you might not ever find your answer. So from our tip to you guys, make sure you have working hardware. Okay. One question I saw on our Discord is what methods do we use to teach people who have never programmed before? So every year we usually get new programming members, and it's always a struggle teaching each of them. Some of them already know a lot of programming, some of them might not know at all. So it's our goal to kind of get them in the same position um, as soon as possible. And that's not always the case. Most of the time, a lot of our newer members don't understand what's going on. So, what we do to teach these people who haven't programmed before is get them on teams with people who are more experienced with programming. On our team, we always like to have like one or two strong members per team, and kind of have the rest kind of fill in, making sure that we evenly distribute our less experienced members with our more veteran members. And so they kind of get a hands-on learning experience, working on the job basically. And so while we're working, they can figure out what's going on and learn from our experiences from past years. And we also like to host our own training sessions at the beginning of the year to hopefully maybe not catch people up, but to teach in general. So we teach these lessons that we can refer to later. So when we're like teaching a new student basically on the job, we can kind of refer to these lessons and be like, it's kind of like when we were talking about this, or it's basically this, but very, very similar but different. And so we kind of do that. We use previous knowledge that they have to increase what they're working on now.
Yeah. So usually there's a lot of trouble with learning object-oriented programming and Java, and like specifically the syntax for it. So we have them program their own programs. Like this year, we did a bank with uh, the interest rates and multiple accounts, and we had them program that so that they could get some experience after all the training. Um, we also usually use Romies a lot. We have them program those. That's more towards the start, um, and it just lets them get a lot more familiar with Java and our specific way of programming.
Yeah, and these roamings are supposed to be like a fun little experience for these students because they haven't programmed before on a robot, or if they have programmed before, they haven't really seen it in the real world. Most of the time, they're working with like editing text or kind of doing the general Hello World project. So they're interested in seeing, something that they wrote driving around in the real world. And so they enjoy it. It's something that's fun for all of us, even mentors and leads. We enjoy watching these kids learn about programming and seeing just their smiles and the enjoyment on their face that they can do this and that they can work on a really big robot later in the season and kind of it kind of shows them a preview of what's going to happen at competitions. Is that something that you worked on is going to be way bigger, something that is at a competition, and you could feel that you've been a part of that. And so that's kind of the experience we're trying to give them.
So uh, I noticed earlier that we might have diverged a bit from some of the questions you guys were asking in Question Cove. Um, if
Cave.
Question Cave, I'm sorry, I thought it was Cove.
Close enough.
But yeah, we might have messed up a bit on answering your questions fully. If we did at all, uh, feel free to like either in the chat right now you can send message, or if later you want to put in our Discord in the question channel, or just continue on that same channel, we can give you a more
Yeah.
better response.
So, Dylan Powers, I see that you commented on YouTube. We do have training, public training slides. We also have videos on our YouTube. For some topics, we have kind of code organization, code standards. We also have, we're talking about simulation and debugging and stuff like that. And our team YouTube channel isn't just programming. So if you have members of your electromechanical team that might need training videos, we have videos on our YouTube about that. We're also hoping to get more YouTube videos in the future on our YouTube channel. Also, in our Bare Bytes Discord, we do have kind of a resources section that you can look at slides uh, from us. I know some other teams have posted their training slides, and so on there you can look for slides that might help your team. You might even look at it and kind of it might encourage you to make your own slides that are based off of those training slides. So yeah, we do have public resources, and we're always willing to make more. And we want to hear from the community if they want us to make a presentation on something. We're more than willing to make a presentation for however long it takes on these topics, because we just want to help you guys out. And so we already talked about our experience with the cameras, but we haven't talked that much in depth. We just kind of talked about the ribbons. So we found a lot of resources online that helped us, even though it was a living nightmare. There was a Photon Vision Discord we went to and asked a lot of questions, and they gave us lots of responses. And sadly, they didn't help us because the problem was our ribbons were broken. But they were they're like on the spot to answer our questions and to help us. So if you have any photon vision related questions that we can't, we're not there on the fly to help you with, or like someone's not able to answer you that quickly, I would recommend to go to their Discord. They have almost feels like 24/7. They have someone who will respond to you, and their responses are very like intelligent, and they're really good at their job.
Yeah. I think we found that by going to the photon vision documentation at photonvision.org. Uh, they have a link there. They have a search bar. You can probably just search up Discord and it'll find you the invite link for it.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Or we could provide it after the stream.
Yeah. And then I know this isn't in the Question Cave channel, but we had someone in the Questions channel kind of talking about LEDs and asking about that, and we thought that'd be a great place to bring up here. So each year we like to introduce LEDs to our robot because it helps our drive team, it helps us, and it's just visually nice. Um, One of the reasons we do it was, like I said, it helps our drive team. And the reason it helps our drive team is because if they, for example, with Endgame last year, if you want to see like your arms going up or something moving, it'll shine the LEDs in a specific color that indicates to our drive team that our robot is doing something. And so it's kind of a communication between on the field and to our drive team.
This year we were especially planning to have an LED or a set of LEDs that can turn purple or orange to indicate what we want from the human player. Because we realized communication with that human player could be difficult, and they could possibly like give us a cone when we're trying to complete a link of cubes, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it doesn't only apply to our drive team, because, like you said, orange and purple, that's the color of the cubes and cones. So hopefully it's universal that if you're flashing purple lights, that they want a cube. So it doesn't just extend to our drive team. Like, if we did drive team training and we said flash a blue light for the cone, then it would be more specific to us. But the purple and orange is kind of universal, knowing the cubes and cones. So it's also kind of strategy on our end, kind of planning what are colors we could use that universally show what we're doing. And then we use a lot of specific LEDs. We use stuff. There's a lot of wiring on here. Sorry, I don't want to go too in depth because then we're going to be doing a whole step by step. But we do have resources for you to look at. We also can answer your questions. We answer the person's questions in Discord. So if you have any more questions about LEDs, we can answer them at a later time. Currently, we don't have a lot of resources to make this quick and efficient to answer your LED questions.
Yeah, and if you're watching live or if you're watching this after it's posted on YouTube, comment what team number you are from.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to know. We want to see how much people watch it, where they're from, and we would like to see kind of how widespread we are. Not in an ego way. I don't want to be very egotistical, but it is really nice to see kind of how far we've reached. Kind of from a small team in Wisconsin to probably the other side of the world. And so, comment your team number. Maybe what made you watch the stream. Like, were you looking for a specific question to be answered? Are you just interested in robotics related videos that this just stumbled across you? Please let us know.
If you have any tips going on in the future, this is our first stream, so make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah. And then, so continuing on, because it sounds like we're ending, but we're not. Lydia. So we do. Sorry, I called you out. We do have things like autonomous that we do work through as well. Now, our programming team doesn't really make the paths here or say, but we kind of work with our strategy team to create these paths. The strategy team kind of creates the path on what it should do and what it like the path directions, while the programming team kind of like puts those plans into place and makes those directions. Now, there's also a lot of things that we can't do in autonomous, like we're limited on time, or it's a lot harder to be precise. So that's one of the things we use kind of our April tags for, or our cameras that track April tags, is to help us kind of figure out where we are on the field, our odometry, and so we can get a better understanding of where those cubes are, and maybe some cameras we don't have them could track those cubes and kind of automatically turn to pick them up, and then more autonomously, more AI being able to do the autonomous period and scoring. And then another thing we use kind of cameras, not kind of, another thing we use cameras for is to kind of help our drivers on the field. Like last year, they were not able to see past or through a robot. Um, we had cameras that kind of showed them where to pick up cargo. And so that's another thing you could use these cameras for, is not to do anything like tracking wise, but just to kind of have something that your drivers can see, so they can be more informed on the field and kind of an extra pair of eyes.
Um, I also there was some questions. I think I saw a question earlier in the question channel about like cameras to use with photon vision. Um, and I just wanted to throw it out there that while we had some issues with our specific camera, I think we used like I don't know, it started with an O. It was like O7
Yeah.
something. Uh, we might find that out later.
Yeah, we can. It's a very weird name. It feels like machine code, but there are like the three kind of, I think 3 or 4 cameras that you can use with the photon vision, and so you got to get one of those specific ones, and that it's hard to, because you can't really just go to your local like Best Buy and pick up a random camera and use it. You gotta buy one online that works with it. So that's another thing to look out for is if you're having errors with your photon vision, your camera might not be supported.
Yeah.
And how you can figure that out is, I think it's in the options file. There's a file
config.txt after you image your Raspberry Pi, the SD card. You just like you open the boot, and there will be config.txt, and if you scroll to the bottom of that, there's some overlay options, and you have to uncomment your camera out. And also you can see if your camera's there. Uh, there might be some supported cameras that aren't on there that just use the default options. Um, you can probably get more detailed information from Photon Vision's website.
Yeah. And cameras are really useful. We're using one right now to broadcast us. So you use cameras for everything, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
talking about cameras, so we also with our Advantage kit, I know I'm kind of going back to the very start, but it kind of goes with the autonomous that we were talking about before. Um, you're able to use that to help you with your photon vision um, April tags as well, because your April tags are giving you kind of where you should be on the field, and your Advantage kit is also giving you where you should be on the field, and you can use those to compare each other to where you should be, because you can also use like a physical robot on a field to give you a third set of information, but you got to compare these two to figure out which one's the real one, or if both of them are wrong, which is most likely the situation, how to combine them to make the best position on the field for you, on where you actually are. And it's um, it's code. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but you can't ask the world. It will be as accurate as it can be, and it'll probably be as accurate as possible until like probably 24 hours of driving or something, but at that point your battery will die. So you just gotta, and so we're hoping that now's when we're gonna end the stream, not abruptly, but thank you all for watching.
Oh, there was one more thing that we did want to mention that we forgot earlier. Um, in regards to your question in Question Cave on how to effectively control 2 degrees of freedom, we've been working on this. We aren't fully done yet. Next stream we'll talk about it more and we'll provide a more full answer.
Yes. And the next stream should be on the 18th, I think. Let me look at my calendar. Yes. Next stream we're planning on hosting on the 18th. So plan to be there. It should be around the same time. We hope to see you all there. And please ask more questions in our Discord and our YouTube comments. We'll be looking at those as well. And we hope to see you there with a lot more questions that we can answer for you. Thank you.